Welcome back. All right, so continuing my look at teams this offseason. Today we're going to talk about the Pittsburgh Penguins, and they're one of those teams I was saving for later and looking at these teams in their off seasons because I really felt like we were going to see some more action from them than we have. There's a lot of speculation about whether or not Erik Karlsson might get moved. There's speculation about either Rust or Raquel getting moved. I don't think it would be both, and when you look at their depth chart, you can understand why people look at this team right now as one that could be in the running for Gavin McKenna, and that might be the plan. Keep in mind that for cap space, they have a little over $13 million, $13,053,571. This is a team that missed the playoffs by 11 points this past season, and so the expectations are that we will probably see this team in the running for maybe the number one draft pick, and McKenna could be a really nice addition to a team that could use a Gavin McKenna. Now, what stands out first is the left side. Now, these are lines I got from Puckpedia, and I actually did a bit of a double take. They have McGroarty on the first line, which I think is ballsy, and if it works out that way, they look genius. McGroarty, 8 games played this past season, 1 goal, 2 assists, 3 points. I did see some taking a bit of a victory lap because he didn't, dominate right away, and he did have to play in the minors, but keep in mind he's still a very young player, and he's going to get every opportunity to succeed with the Pittsburgh Penguins. Danton Heinen, after returning in a trade from Vancouver, 28 games, 3 goals, 8 assists for 11 points. Heinen, you know what you're getting with him. And you've got Lizotte and Brazeau on that left side. Again, with Puckpedia's got there. Lizotte, Brazeau, both hard workers. You don't necessarily get a ton of points from either player, but they're both hard-working players. Now, down the middle, and this is really the strength of this squad, you have Sidney Crosby. $8.7 million cap hit until 2027. Obviously, all eyes are going to be on Crosby. I've seen a lot of speculation. The funny thing is, for all the speculation, Crosby has already come out and said he's not going anywhere. He doesn't want to go anywhere. So there's that. 80 games played this past season, 33 goals, 58 assists, 91 points. One of the best players of all time? Yes. We'll have that debate, I'm sure, when he retires about where he stands on the all-time list, but he's definitely up there. And I would not be surprised to see Crosby hit 90 points again this year. Wouldn't be surprised at all. Evgeny Malkin, $6.1 million cap hit. He is, of course, in the final year of his contract, which has been talked about plenty this offseason. But you can see why he is in discussions right now when you talk about players who might be on the move. 68 games this past season, 16 goals, 34 assists, 50 points. Malkin's definitely lost a step, and that's fine. It happens to everybody except Ovechkin or Crosby, I guess. But for Malkin, this being the last year of his contract, in the event that they don't extend him beyond this season, and especially if he's looking at this being his final season, I am sure Kyle Dubas will sit down, have a chat with him about what he wants to do, and if Malkin decides he wants a chance to win another championship somewhere, I am sure that the team would move him at the trade deadline to make that work. So when he ends up in Florida, don't be overly surprised, because it feels like Malkin might be that guy who goes to the Florida Panthers next year at the trade deadline, and bam, they win again. Novak has been added to this team. He has a $3.5 million cap hit till 2027. This past year, playing for Nashville, 52 games, 13 goals, 9 assists, 22 points. I do like the pickup of Novak. I think there's potential there. Kevin Hayes on that fourth line. His cap hit, he's got, I think, 1 year left in his contract. He could end up being on the move, but it's probably going to be later on into the season before we'd see Hayes getting moved. On the right side, you've got Brian Rust, the aforementioned player who may very well be on the block. $5.13 million cap hit until 2028. Now, with Rust, 71 games played this past season, 31 goals, 34 assists for 65 points. Very effective player, right around a point per game. Rust is the kind of player that if he does move to another team, I think his goal scoring will stay in that 25 goal range in all likelihood. The 31 definitely helped by playing on a line with a really talented Crosby, but wherever Rust goes, he'd probably end up on a line with a really talented center again. Then you've got Raquel, $5 million cap hit till 2028, so less of a cap hit than Rust, but Raquel's 81 games, 35 goals, 35 assists, 70 points. That's a career year for Raquel. So it is understandable that both of those teams, Rust and Raquel, are on the block for a team in Pittsburgh that is very likely not going to be in the mix for a playoff spot this year. They also added Anthony Mantha. He only played 13 games for the Flames this past season, but he recorded 4 goals, 3 assists for 7 points. He has a $2.5 million cap hit for this season. and then he's an unrestricted free agent next summer. Achari's on that fourth line, so their fourth line's not bad, and their depth's pretty good too. They've got Dewar. They've also got Tomasino, who played 50 games with the Penguins this past season. Recorded 11 goals, 12 assists, 23 points. I do think Tomasino probably ends up in this lineup. Imama, Puustinen, Koppinen, Koivunen. So a lot of Finnish players there in a row. Pula. Harvey Pinard has been added via free agency. And Ponomarev still shows up as a restricted free agent. I thought he'd signed in the KHL. Couldn't find that, though. But either way, still on the list as a restricted free agent for the Pittsburgh Penguins. Then you get to the blue line. Graves, $4.5 million cap hit till 2029. It's a lot of money for the production. 61 games, 1 goal, 3 assists, 4 points. So $4.5 million for a defenseman that only produced 4 points. And so we'll see what his role is with Pittsburgh this season. Chris Letang has a $6.1 million cap hit until 2028. 74 games this past season, 9 goals, 21 assists, 4. 30 points overall for Chris Letang, a veteran player. And so with the questions around Malkin, the questions around Crosby, there may very well be those questions around Letang as well. My answer to that would be when you do the full teardown, that usually doesn't go very well. It takes a very long time to dig your way out. I don't expect Pittsburgh to do a full teardown. Ryan Shea on the left side here, Erik Karlsson on the right side. We'll see if that's how it goes. Karlsson has a $10 million cap hit till 2027. 82 games, 11 goals, 42 assists, 53 points for Karlsson. The debate becomes whether or not Karlsson gets traded. What is Karlsson's trade value right now? What kind of production could we get from Karlsson if he goes somewhere else? I'm waiting for the rumors to get back around to, hey, could Karlsson go back to Ottawa? And the answer I would have to that is he could. I don't think he does. But for Erik Karlsson, his name's going to be in the trade rumors, I would think, right up until training camp and beyond. Wotherspoon and Clifton listed as the third pairing. Clifton, 73 games this past season with Buffalo, 1 goal, 15 assists for 16 points. And they added Matt Dumba in a trade from Dallas. $3.75 million cap hit for Dumba for this season only, and then he's an unrestricted free agent next summer. Pickering, St. Ivany, Alexiev, and Caleb Jones, the depth on the blue line for the Pittsburgh Penguins. So the blue line, I like the depth just fine, but like I said, there's a lot of uncertainty about who's going to stick around. You've got some aging players here on this blue line too, so we'll see what happens. Now, the goaltending has been a focus for the Pittsburgh Penguins and for their fans and from media as well. And very often it is not necessarily flattering coverage because Jarry had his struggles this past season. He looked good when he came back up from the AHL, but he did have his struggles. 16, 12, and 6 record, .893 save percentage. Now, the backup appears to be Shelov's, who they picked up in a trade from Vancouver. In the National Hockey League, Shelov's numbers this year, 2-6-1 with an .861 save percentage. This is where, for people who don't think the Canucks got enough value back, Shelov's numbers in the NHL were not great, and therefore I think that hurts his value. He had an excellent run in the AHL. I hope he has a strong run here with Pittsburgh this year as the backup. And if he does have any kind of issues here, Blomqvist is there as the number 3. I do still see rumors about whether or not Jarry's going to end up on the move. I think that $5.38 million cap hit for Jarry, which extends till 2028, I think that's going to prevent him getting moved unless they take back a contract that another team doesn't want. Now, they do have the $13+ million in cap space. They can afford to do that. It'll just be interesting to see how they navigate it. So for the Pittsburgh Penguins, this is an off season that it feels like there's a bit of a sell-off. Not like they're selling everybody, but it's very likely between now and the start of the season, we'll probably see one of these wingers gone. We'll probably see one of these depth players on the wings. And we'll see if McGroarty gets the number 1 spot. If he does end up playing a lot of minutes, they clearly have some faith in him after they picked him up from Winnipeg. So it'll be interesting to see how his season goes. And with the name Rutger McGroarty, why wouldn't I want to see him get his name on the score sheet so I can say that in reviews as often as possible? Because it's a fun name to say. But that being said, let me know your expectations for Pittsburgh. Will they be the worst team in the Metro? Is I think a valid question to ask. And how long do you think this retool/rebuild is going to need And one last bonus question. If Malkin goes, does anybody else go? So if Malkin ends up being traded out, does that mean that we'll see maybe Letang and Crosby think, maybe we want to have a chance to win somewhere. Maybe it won't be in Pittsburgh. I don't think so. I don't think another person's going to necessarily influence that decision for either player. But I'd be interested to know your thoughts. Hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. It's greatly appreciated. I will talk to you again soon.